welcome back to I think this is episode four.
Episode
Uh,
4,
episode
Quattro.
four of the We Rock podcast, which is rather impressive. Again, I think we could just keep impressing ourselves. And I think it's really because you and I keep going back and listening to our own stuff over and over again. So I don't
Mom,
really think anybody's actually listening. This is just us.
my mom told me we're doing a good job.
Well, again, my kids are still listening to it to fall asleep. But in over the last 90 days, we've got 309 total downloads. So what we do need is for those who have signed in to listen to this, and for those who are interested, we don't get anything special on our end for another 130 downloads. So
Correct.
we really need somebody. We need y'all to share this with your friends. Think of it like TikTok, like, share, and comment. Or Instagram or however. The difference between us and TikTok is that we're not owned by the Chinese yet.
Yeah. Everything has its price, right?
Man, how well's the yen trading with the dollar right now?
How many yens does it take to make a yang? I don't know.
Well, I don't know either, but I do know that they sell some black monuments.
They do.
Yeah.
I've seen them advertised on some monument builders Facebook groups quite often.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. The monument builders group original doesn't allow advertising. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I said some.
Oh, some. Okay. Well, now that so that we understand how that works, I guess. The it's interesting though. I mean, the way things are going, we may end up getting sponsorship from a Chinese company first before we get any sponsorships from any American companies. But in all, can you actually blame them?
No, not
Half
at
the,
all.
half the people that listen to us can't understand what we're saying anyway.
I would be very gun shy about that association with us.
Well, look, I mean, we're not selling any goods to marketplaces where we're advertising unscrupulous people or people with questionable issues. Either direction, for that matter.
No, yeah.
So what's going on in your world? What's going on up there?
Oh, a little bit of the same. We're starting to see some warmer weather, so we're trying to stay out in the cemetery as much as we possibly can. Of course, we're here right in the middle of the spring, so that means it might rain, it might not. So always pushing around that.
I do love the outlook of the forecast right now as I was looking at the 10-day and trying to figure out what the next week looks like. And today it's blue skies for us, and tomorrow it looks like blue skies. But starting Monday to the following Sunday, it's a solid 60% chance of rain.
Which means it probably won't rain till late Thursday.
Well, and I'm just trying to figure out at what point in time do we become Kevin Costner's Waterworld? Is this do we start sprouting gills? Because it's just I actually have a little swamp in my backyard at the moment, just because it's rained so much.
The day that dirt becomes a currency, I'm set.
Is it worth more when it's mud?
Technically, I guess it could be because the time's ticking.
Well, look, here, and you can appreciate this as a former farmer. But I was at church a week or so ago, and one of the deacons sits across from me, and he says he was talking to another friend of ours, and he said, "Yeah, we really need this rain for the fields. It's really good to have it." And I looked at him, I said, "Shut up."
Shoot, I'd be careful about that. There's been people. It's like, gosh, almighty, it's raining so good, lakes are filling up, and I'm like, hey, careful. I saw a drought start like this.
I was like, man, you can suck your water out of the Brazos River. I needed to dry up. I can't get in anywhere. It's like, this is ridiculous. It's so bad right this second that, and I've seen it worse, obviously, but right now, it's so bad that we had a short story long, I guess, is we sold a monument to a lady, and she asked us to wait to install until before Mother's Day. The lady had passed, I think, 30 years ago. And so they finally got around to taking care of the monument. And we've sold several monuments to this family. They're great people. But they could not find her mother. The cemetery could not. And they're like, well, no, this is where the plot is located, but there's this giant tree there. Well, it turns out this tree has been growing on the mother's plot for a while. And so they had dug around the tree to make sure she was there and not placed elsewhere. Well, after they get just below the roots, they finally find the vault. And they go, well, no, she's there. She's under the tree, but we don't want to dig any further because we're going to mess the roots up. So they backfill all the dirt back in to, keep the tree from dying. But they pumped water out of the hole for several hours to get, and this is south of us, so it's near the Navasota River. But if you're familiar with the Navasota River bottom, it is probably 30 feet below, like the river bottom is 30 feet below the landmass that's on the edge, right? So you've got a lip there, and so the cemetery's up pretty high, and there's water in these plots above where the river sits. Just, so they're pumping all this water out. The lady calls me up, says, "Well, I'm just worried about the monument. Is it going to lean? The monument's within 2 foot of this tree that they dug all this soil out of." And I said, "Yes, ma'am. It's going to lean."
Yeah.
I said, "I'll fix it. It's not a big deal. I'll go out there and fix it."
That's a stark contrast to us up here. There has been a point in time to where grave diggers around here have had to pump water into a hole to dig.
When are they saving that for later for the crops? And they're like, oh, the next year's soybeans right here.
Well, I guess kicking this off now, a topic for today is in our industry is, the name who should not be named, cremation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess the cremation route does actually spin off of the water issue in the plot kind of deal. So in reverse,
Right.
it does keep away from having that to be an issue. But no, I think you and I have kind of been talking about some of this. One, because we're seeing more of it, which is a little on the rare side for us being in Texas. But a little more commonplace elsewhere. And then we kind of had talked a little bit about how to combat this and what this looks like moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because as it stands right now, the rate of cremation in the United States is currently sitting at 57.5%. That's up a little over 3% from before the pandemic started. And they're saying that by 2025, we're looking at 64%.
So I've got several things on this, and it goes multiple ways, right? I think I like whenever I talk percentages, I like to talk raw numbers as well. Now it's going to be a little hard to talk raw numbers on this a bit, but I think sometimes these numbers scare the mess out of people because they're going to see, oh well, cremation's up 3% over what it was before, but you also have to take in not just a percentage of increase, but you have to take in a per capita increase. And then how does that correlate with the increase of death as well as the increase of population as well? Because those numbers in comparison to last year, those rates have increased as far as what the pool is that we can pull from when it comes to these those passing. So there's a lot of things to remember in this as we go on and dive into this. You got to remember that the rate of death increases every year, but it's also in conjunction with the population increase. You're constantly seeing that increase has changed annually, consistently at a consistent rate. So it's not like you've had one that was 2% and then one year that's 10%. Even through COVID, that rate of increase was fairly consistent.
Right.
So as we look at this now, we're talking about baby boomers and things like that are adjusting these things. We're finally seeing these baby boomers getting to that point, what we've been talking about for years.
And one of the things, especially seeing the jump in the percentage of cremation, especially, from pre-pandemic to, where we are today is we did see a rise in, in deaths than what we're used to on a year by year basis. So that kind of inflated those numbers a little bit, but it has also made it to where, COVID had ripped off what I'd called the cremation band-aid. That there was a stigma that surrounded it, that some people were always on the fence about it. They weren't sure. They were lukewarm to it. But given that there were restrictions on how many people you could have at funeral services, just travel restrictions, things like that, it became the convenient option was to
Right.
have a cremation, and then you can postpone and have a memorial service later on. But now a lot of people have seen that, it's not as bad as what they thought it was going to be. And so now it's going to set a pattern that they're going to be more open to the thought of cremation.
Right. And I think that as monument guys, we go, oh, I mean, how many times have you heard other guys go, oh, cremation is going to kill us? And
Oh,
I don't know that that's the case. I mean, I would argue that this industry
it's
is
not going to kill us, but it's going to force us to adapt.
correct. But, we're in one of the oldest industries in the world, right? I mean, I think it goes priest, murderer, and our, what is it, a prostitute, and then monument guy or construction worker. So a farmer's
Right.
in there somewhere.
Right.
We're one of the oldest industries in the world. I mean, tracing back to Imhotep, the architect who started designing or one of the architects who started designing pyramids. So we've been around, and we've seen, the industry has seen cremation. This is not anything new. It's certainly not new, even in the last 100 years. It's more new to our country as Americans that we're seeing this, and we're having to figure it out on our side.
Oh, definitely so. And America is a statistical outlier as far as the rate of cremation, because you look at who's at the top of it is Japan. Japan is 100% cremation. And there's factors that deal in with that, especially that what land do they have available? They're an island nation that is mountainous.
Well, and they still create memorials. They still bury those cremains. In fact, whenever I was working on the import side of things, that was one of the things that I was told back then, was that the companies we were buying from at the time were companies that were also making monuments for the Japanese, and their how strict they were on quality was extremely high, because they're doing so many ornate pieces, and the polish had to be very good. And so those are things that they would be looking for. Whereas anything that we were creating, if you could create a fully all polished pagoda that had different details on it, a serp top was nothing.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're still producing those monuments for other countries that have those high cremation rates. We see it in Germany. We see it in Europe. It's not. I think my point in this is take the fear off of it ahead of time. Let understand that it's here. It's staying, and we're just kind of late to the game as an industry in the U.S.
Right.
So
I mean, we're still very traditional. And of course, other countries, their reason for high cremation rates is, there's their religious practices is one thing that is a main driver of it, because unfortunately, the United States is a majority Christian country. The Pope is, but that is unfortunately one thing that is having the decline in traditional services and the increased rate of cremations that we're seeing is it's social factors, such as the change in religious views or the lack thereof. But more than anything, one of the biggest driving reasons for the increased rate of cremations we're seeing is price. And especially if we're looking at seeing what's coming down the road as far as economic issues,
Mhm.
That could even further increase that.
Well, and I think that's huge. I mean, I've joked around with Emily a number of times. Whenever I go, and people are like, what are you going to do? I said, well, when I go, I want you to choose whatever's the cheapest at the time, right? Because I have this running joke about I think that at some point in time, cremation becomes a little bit more expensive than traditional burial, or vice versa, or they've got to even out and become more akin to each other. But nevertheless, it just makes the point that you choose what makes the most sense for you, and I would rather them spend more money on the memorial than on how to dress the body. That makes so much more sense to me, being that the memorial will be there forever.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I mean that's you'll have some people that'll go into a funeral home, they'll spend $10,000, $15,000 all on something that's about to be buried.
Well, and the other one that gets me is not just the casket. When you talk about flowers, and you go spend
Oh,
a
is
thousand
that not a
dollars on
racket?
yeah, right. You're going to spend $1,000 on flowers that are going to be alive for a week and then go in the trash.
Hmm.
And then they come in and what's the cheapest monument you got? You don't have anything less than $1,000.
Well,
Like,
well, we bought
wait a
one
minute.
6 years ago. It was half this price.
Yeah. Well, my my stone won't rot as fast as your flowers will.
Would
So,
hope you'd hope not.
well, I mean, just I guess it depends on who your supplier is. It's, but it's there's I can't get past some of the logic and some of how people spend money, but that's teach their own. Um,
And that's I don't mean to I'm not hating on people that choose cremation or anything. You know, it's for some people and it's not for some people. Um, I guess kind of my direction at it today is how how do we as business owners in the line of work, how are we going to handle
right. When I
it?
think we've got to focus on doing what we feel is the right thing for the situation for the family, and trying to. I think you can get lost in well, I've got to make X number of dollars for the month or for the quarter to do da 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 da. Whereas the family's walked in my door, they're looking for something. I don't care where it's got to go,
Right.
um, and I don't care what it's for. I need to
Yeah,
take care of
I
the
mean, because
family.
how many times have you set a memorial of some sort in somebody's backyard?
I've got one right now where it's actually going to the gentleman's front yard, and it's a large cantilevered bench monument that I created a number of years ago that's been out on display.
Say
And
he must think you do good work if he's willing to put it in the front yard.
well, I haven't drawn I mean, we've kind of drawn stuff up, but I
That,
don't think
that
it's
that that
quite good
just
yet.
that
So,
just brought me to a terrible realization about myself is I haven't set something in somebody's front yard.
man, what
It's
does that say? How
step
many
my
of your
game
own
up.
things? How many of your own things have you set in your front yard?
Now I do have a few little pieces in my front yard.
And you look at them, and do you spend more time in your front yard than your backyard?
I spend more time in my backyard.
Uh-huh. So you put them where you can't see
Well, I also put them where people can't see them. The ones in my front yard because nobody comes to my house. I live down a dirt road.
them. Oh yeah, I've had direct. You've sent me directions to your house before. It turn off the dirt road and go through the creek.
Yeah, when you get to the big tree, turn left.
Mhm. How many times do I have to cross over the Red River to get to your place?
I mean, it depends upon how many times you want to drive into Oklahoma.
So no, as we but when we look at some of this stuff, I mean, you're right. The cremation memorials can go just about anywhere. It's not just in your yard. It can go in your backyard. It can go in your front yard. They can go to a park. They can go to a church. I mean, all these different things. They can go to the cemetery. What's interesting about this is that the number of cremation memorials we are doing now is grown exponentially. A lot of it's in tune to some of the cemeteries we have here. Like I've got this one particular cemetery that's got a section dedicated to Aggies, and it's they call it the Aggie Field of Honor, and it faces Kyle Field because as one of my friends talks about it. He says, well, dog cult schools, do dog cult things, and so I when I hear those things, I go, well, here at A&M, we do put the cult in agriculture. So um, the truth of it is, though, that what's great about that is they've got this field that's dedicated towards Aggies, and they want to be buried there. Now they even have columbariums there that you can put your cremains in it. But a lot of people right now are buying a single plot, bearing two sets of cremains in it, and they're still buying an upright monument for this plot.
Right.
We're seeing quite a bit of that for us on the regular.
And the same up here too.
Yeah.
And another thing that we're seeing quite a bit of as well is, you have a husband and wife that they're still buying a single plot, but one of them is choosing to be buried, the other one is choosing to be cremated. And
right.
And they're still burying the cremains right there, or one of them has already passed, and then the cremains are going to be placed in the casket with them.
Right. Well, and this is the other thing to keep in mind is that just because it's a single plot does not mean the monument has to be small. Oh. You still got, I mean, at least most of the cemeteries around here are 5 foot wide, which gives us 4 foot in width to play with. So, but I don't have to have a large base. If you think about a 4 by 6 by 2 monument, you typically would put it on a 5-6 base. If I can take that 4 by 6 by 2, turn it on in, so now it's a 2 by 6 by 4. And probably 2 by 8 by 4. Let's be real. If I'm gonna do 4 foot tall, I'm gonna make it thicker. But and now you just do a smaller base. I can do a 3 foot wide base, and pin it to that, and be perfectly comfortable with that. And now I've sold them a large monument. I have vertical room to do artwork, which makes things like long stem rose drawn designs work really well. Right. Go up with it. And I like the idea of whenever I'm doing designs to be able to like reach out and touch it instead of having to bend over and touch it. Right. So you can do things and not be afraid of it. These percentages and these cremations that are going up, it's not something to be worried about. I mean, things like I've watched Bill Boone for years out of Ohio make these bird baths, and they're great for cremation for somebody's garden. Just a name and a date, and it's you've now got a bird bath that can move with you. Right. If you want, you can core it and put cremains in it. You don't have to do that either. You can just, have that as your memorial.
And like you said, it can move with you. So even if you do decide to uproot your family, whatever, you can still take it with you. And that is also one of the things that has driven the rate of cremation is people are not necessarily tied to a geographic location anymore like they used to be.
Right.
But and also, like you said, one of the great things about still being able to do an upright headstone on a single plot, like you said, yeah, you're pretty constricted to what the width of your base can be. But
correct.
Outside of that, unless the cemetery has some type of stringent height, regulation out there, just know that up at the top, 200 foot FAA does require a red, beacon light on top of it.
That's why you set it at 199 feet. But or can you get a solar powered red blinking light? I mean, how big does this thing have to be?
I don't know. If I'm going to set one, I'm going to make sure I'm going to spend the money on a light that never burns out, because if they call me to climb up there and replace the bulb, I'm out. I'm out.
I think you're thinking of this wrong. Why don't you just lean the thing over so that you can reach the top and then lift it back up?
You ever seen a $10,000 light bulb change?
I don't like the idea of paying the expense for that, but I don't mind the idea of getting paid to do it. But that's about the only way you're going to get me up there to do it. So
still can't pay me. If I stand on top of my desk, I'm going to have issues.
Man, I don't know how you're going to fly to some of these conventions.
Oh, I don't mind airplanes at all.
You just don't get the window seat.
No, I'll fight for that window seat. I'll hit an old man in public.
uh, as this cremation stuff takes hold and whatnot, I think also some of the stuff that we need to remember is the groups that are not doing cremation are still going to be there, right, for religious reasons.
Hmm.
You're still going to have your Muslim families that are not going to do cremation for the most part.
Hmm.
I believe the Jewish families do not.
They do not.
And then I've got a lot of. It's really interesting. I've got a lot of black families that refuse to do it, and I don't think that's a cultural thing as much as it is a um, just a I don't want to be burned kind of thing, right? Like a superstition kind of thing more than a faith based thing. But that's that. I mean, that's still I think where I'm at. We're seeing cremation amongst black families at maybe 15%, something like that. It's pretty low.
Right.
You still yet to see. I have not seen cremation amongst children uh, much at all.
Yeah. That
Uh,
is very rare.
and so we're still going to see traditional burial for children. And typically, if there's a burial for a child, there will be plots for mom and dad as well. Uh, so there's going to still be a lot of it. But again, we go back to the statement about those percentages, and you look at like what the sheer numbers of things are. So when you say you're at, let's say, I think you said the national rate is expected at 64% by 2025. If you look at that number and you say, okay, 64%, but let's go to what's the number? Do you know that we're going to have to get on the Googles here in just a second and see if we can pull this up. The U.S. death rate for 2022, as you can hear me keying on my keyboard. And you'd think that we'd have been smart enough to actually have these numbers at our disposal prior to it.
We're still working out the kinks.
Well, like I'm never gonna. I'm only intelligent to a limit, you know. So, trying to find the overall number. The death rate and that's a death rate, but it's that death rate for 2022 is 9.172%, at a growth rate of 1%. But when you're looking at those overall numbers, while that percentage of people dying is there, the population is growing. Now, where we really got to worry is that we're not at replacement rate.
I was about to go into that. Yeah. We are below the rate of replacement.
Yeah, I think we're at 1.7 or 1.8%, something like that. So that's where issues are going to end up being, but that's still a ways out, right? I mean, I think some of that changes. Truthfully, I've often joked that there are certain groups of people that will probably replace us. So if you're not happy with the politics, just understand that the people that are pushing a lot of the current popular agenda are not the ones that are actually doing the replacement of the population. So just give it time.
Oh, we could go into that one.
Well, and the good news is the people that are currently replacing the population are the people who would be buying monuments. So there is that as well as another number for you.
And you know, stating all the numbers, you know, our biggest hurdle get past is that, you know, as far as like what we do, we are the last link in the chain. You know, from the funeral home to the clergy, Terry, all that. We're the last one. We're the last one that gets a phone call.
Right.
And if this is a market that we want to try to capitalize on, that we definitely want to try to get ourselves out there in front of, you know, we got to start putting in the effort, you know, on our own individual responsibility to get out there and educate the public. And whether that be, you know, crafting, you know, whatever your advertisement's going to be, or just simply trying to get the word out there by
some of it's
working
on
with your funeral homes. Oh yeah,
right. A lot of, and I say a lot of it is on education. because what you're talking about is not just education on the aspect of what is a um, about that you can do monuments for cremation, but also reaching out to explain that to people at in hospice care, meaning that you're educating those who are talking to the families in hospice. You're educating those at um, the retirement communities and things like that. I know our community around here will do end of life deals where they'll explain to senior citizens what's next, right? What to expect, or stuff so that they can plan for that time. And some of it's getting in on that, in with those groups. Whether, like for us, we've got a group called Hospice Brazos Valley, that's a nonprofit group that will take care of families in that time. And we actually do a lot with them from time to time. But it's educating them and educating the people they serve to understand that, look, yes, you are able to do cremation and still have a memorial. Because the truth is, when it comes down to it, the likelihood of individuals keeping cremains around is minimal. It's not just a matter of keeping the cremains around. Some of it's, what does the next generation do? So hypothetically, we talk about, like, whether it's your parents or my folks, and my parents have said for a while that they want to be cremated, and I have no problem with it. And my mom used to joke; she would say, "Oh, well, I'm going to do a cremation, and I want you to put me on your shelf." And I said, "Mom, if I'm putting you in an urn, I'm putting you on the shelf. You're going to be as a display in the office for people to see." But the deal is okay. So if we were to keep my mom's ashes around, then go on to the next generation, and my kids keep them around. Do my grandkids keep them around? Or do my great grandkids? Definitely don't, because there's no connection there. Oh. And so at some point in time, that memory gets lost, and that gets tossed out. So, and I understand that we can still have that kind of general argument when it comes to an actual monument, but there are a lot of people out there who like to know where they came from and where they were from physically in the world as well. So those memorials do stand for a reason for long periods of time. It's about the education portion of it, though, to get people to understand there is an importance behind it. It's not just so that we can sell a rock.
Right. And and as far as the education part of it goes, there has to be ways that we need to, phrase what you were just talking about, figure out a tactful way that you can talk to your community, talk to the families that you deal with, and let them know that, if you want grandma on your shelf, that's fine. If that what works for you, that's totally fine. But there is a probability down the line that she is going to be relegated to a closet somewhere, or might end up in a thrift store.
Well, and what you don't want is one of the stories my father-in-law told me once was he was at a motorcycle deal with some friends, and they decided to spread their buddy's ashes down. I don't know if you've been out to the Lakey area out there in West Texas, over the Frio River, Concan area. There's these three roads they call the Three Sisters that are heavily popular amongst motorcycle riders. And so one of their buddies had got cremated, and he wanted his ashes spread. And so all the buddies are out there riding, and the lead rider has one guy turn around backwards on the motorcycle to spread his ashes as they go down the road. And of course, the others are back far enough, whatever. It's not a big deal. Except the guy who's sitting backwards on the motorcycle then spreads the ashes along. And if you're familiar with air currents and how they work when it comes to turbulence, that did not work out so well for him. We do not know which part of his buddy he was kissing, but he was kissing part of him. So he ended up with a face full of his buddy's remains as they went down the highway. So it's not always picture perfect. We always see what they do in the movies, and after 15 different takes. But I was at one where there was a family who had spread the ashes of a loved one out on a plot, and the minister who was the spouse of a very notable public official, not just within Texas, but within the nation. And we were at this service, and the after the cremains were poured out onto the plot, the minister tripped and stepped into the cremains in front of everybody. So no, there's a lot of ways this goes wrong before it goes well, and I think, and I don't say, hey, we scare families through it. That's not what we do here at our shop. But it's a lot easier to understand that you have the ability to bury those cremains or put them inside of a monument or whatnot, and choose to have time to mourn and go back to taking care of spreading those ashes or parts of those ashes later.
Right.
I mean, heck, I was very fortunate enough to be there as they spread the ashes of Scott Lucan while we were at Hard Rocks. And Angie, his wife, had kept some of the ashes for her and her daughter. And it's really cool because they're actually in one of his sculpture pieces he made. And but there were some areas that we spread them that were places he liked to be whenever it came to going to carving and finding stones and stuff like that. So stuff like that that he's kind of spread around. But it was somber. It was a private event. It wasn't for everybody to see, and it was done with a lot of care. It can be done well, but she still has something that has a part of him to remember him by.
Right.
And being from the industry, there was always going to be something that was there to help remember him by. And those are things that how we need to go about educating people is, look, understand that you can do really whatever you want. It can simply be a tile. If you want it etched and etch a picture on it, it can be something small. It can be something large and elaborate. I think it was Bobby Mattis who did this video once of a memory rock that a family did in their front yard. I know this video, I've heard people say, oh, that brings me a lot of trepidation when it comes to it, because it's these stairs that go up to a rope swing that's in a tree. And I love the piece. The piece is amazing to me because it's these names and these characteristics of the individual as you go up the stairs, and it's that kind of thing. And kids are able to go up the stairs and swing off the rope swing. The other people that I've shown it to go, oh man, those kids are going to swing back and bust their heads on that rock. And I'm like, yeah, that's how you learn. You only do it once.
That's correct. But talking about education, in the indoor portion of my showroom, I have a 2-niche columbarium sitting in there, like a lot of us have them. The amount of people that have pointed at that and have no idea what it is, it's a pretty significant number. And honestly, a lot of people, whenever they think about cremation, they think about urn or spreading. And again, that's where we need to get in front of that's where we need to get with our funeral homes. And, it's up to us to educate, because nobody else is going to do it for us.
Right. No, I think that's the big thing, is getting people to understand that there's so many different avenues, so many different things you can do. I mean, I've got things in my office. I don't have it. I'm assuming you have the doghouse monument one. Is that what you have?
Yeah, the horizontal side by side.
Yeah. Okay. No. So I was talking about the one that's got the little niche in the side of it for a vase that doesn't make any sense because
not that one. Yeah.
That one drives me at the wall. But to each their own. But like even in my shop, I've got I have a replica of my grandmother's urn that has her picture on it that Tanner had made for me. I've got some cremation vases that came from one particular vendor where the top portion of it is a vase and it can be mounted alongside a monument, and underneath it is an urn. So that's kind of neat. But we've got a number of different things here. But just like everything else, I can turn anything I've got into a cremation monument. I don't really care.
Right. That's what's very fortunate about, the material we're working with is it's, at its genesis, it's a piece of rock. We can do whatever we want to with that piece of rock.
Mm-hmm. Well, that we actually do anything with a piece of rock is rather impressive in itself. So to sit there and understand that it was simply a rock in the cemetery or in the quarry, and now you've turned it into a decorative monument. Why do we go to the limit of saying it has to be in a cemetery, or it has to be a SERP top, or it has to be this or that? It can be whatever you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it to be a part of the Sistine Chapel, good luck, but I'm sure we can get that taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of coming up with different ways to go about it.
And talking about different ways to go about it, our traditional means of cremation memorialization that we offer, there's always going to be somebody that that is interested in that. But one thing that we do need to take into consideration is that one of the main driving factors behind people choosing to go cremation now is cost, because whenever the price of a cremation versus the price of a traditional burial service, all that, you're looking at 60-70% less.
Yeah.
If they're budget minded and that's what's driving their decision to do that, we also need to figure out how to accommodate that budget in mind as well. Because
Yeah.
some of our traditional pieces, if they're not willing to pay $7,000 for a full funeral, they're not going to spend $5,000 to $7,000 with us.
No.
And
And that's perfectly fine.
right,
I run by a different school of thought, and not necessarily that I think poorly upon anybody who thinks differently, but I'm not worried about how much somebody's coming in here to spend. Um, it's not, I kind of feel like if I keep the quality of what I do up, if I take care of the customers the way I'm supposed to, that's going to bring back sales,
right,
tenfold.
right.
Um,
And I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not concerned with the amount of money that they're going to spend with me. I'm just, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm wanting to make sure that there is a list of options that accommodate them.
right.
And I'm not saying whatever you decide to do, whether it's creating smaller markers or finding more creative ways to go about this. It's whatever you do with that, the quality of your work is still going to be the quality of your work, and it should never diminish just because the price diminishes.
That absolutely. You should take enough pride in your work to not sit there and um, think, well, I've got to come down, even though I'm producing the same quality. I'm gonna have to come down on the price. Come down on what you're not. I'm not. I will never say come down on the quality, but
Hmm.
I will say, why does it have to be so big? Why does it
Right.
have to be that color? One of the things I talk to families about all the time is I don't care where you shop. There are 5 things that control the price of a monument every time:
Hmm.
shape, size, color, polish, and then any add-ons like porcelain pictures and vases and those kind of things.
Right.
And that's because that's how we're charged for those things. So when a family sits there and says, "Well, I don't know if we can afford that," okay, well, does it have to be blue pearl? You know, or
Right.
does it have to be this big? Does it have to be all polished?
Mhm.
There's areas in which we can give in to bring that price down
Mhm.
without squelching on the quality. So everything's a give and take. And once you understand that, understanding that the cremation aspect of it is also a give and take. It's
Mhm.
just a different way that you have to go about understanding how to mitigate what you're doing.
Right. Right.
So,
Is there any way, like, you are working on any sort of education right now? Like, is there anything that you have in the works, thinking about doing with it? Of course, without giving too many trade secrets or anything.
I mean, not nothing that's just earth shattering, right? I mean, we're not doing anything crazy. We're talking to those that uh, we help serve. You know, whether it's again like it's the hospice groups, or the old folks homes that we want educational with. Our church does one where they'll educate the older citizens and stuff like that in the church, and those kind of things. We advertise it within our own stuff here locally, but more than anything, we anytime we've talked to somebody, we used to go to these senior expos, and I don't know if they've stopped doing the senior expos since COVID.
They've stopped them up here.
They may have stopped them completely here, but we just realized that I got tired of going to them and getting some of the answers or responses I was getting, which I thought were rude, because I really wanted to pipe back. It would be things like, "Well, I don't need you,"
and those, yeah, you get that a lot, and
I was like, well, that's fine,
right? And unfortunately, I mean, of course, the senior expos, that was always a good way to get you in front of your target audience, to be able to have that direct outreach with them. And of course, I would always get a few leads off of it, and some pretty concrete things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny part of it was the majority of the people that were coming by the table was wanting to know, what is your giveaway here? Like,
yes,
knowledge. Yeah. I mean, oh man, they were pros about it, because it's a traditional deal for any type of convention type setting or whatever, that have a giveaway. It's a way to get contact information, and you would have little cards for people to fill out. They throw them in the bucket, whatever. These people are coming by with their return address like stickers. They weren't even spending the time to write on it. They just stick it on there, drop it in. They'd go to the next table, stick it on there. They wouldn't even talk to the people. It was about, what are you giving away?
The freebie stuff. We would the next one, if I ever try to go to one again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fountain and bring little tubes. I'm going to tell people it's the Fountain of Youth, and if it doesn't work, call me. So
that's good.
I just little film canister here, fill it up with water, take it with you. Has my name on
it. You're gonna have like the knight from Indiana Jones standing back there. Ooh, he chose long.
She chose poorly.
Right. Now, the senior expo that we used to have up here, it was put on by one of the news channels up here.
Yeah.
And since they have stopped doing that one thing that they have started doing, which I just signed the agreement today to go forward with it, but they are putting together a video series that is going to be, given to all the area seniors. They can request it. They're going to be working with the nursing homes, things like that. And they're also going to be running news segments with it, which we're going to have to go do some recording at the news station here, but it's going to give me the possibility to basically put whatever message I want to put out there. And this is going to be one of the topics that I am going to put out there.
I think that's wise. I mean, getting the information out there is the biggest part. I think there's going to be a bunch of different avenues. And you and I have kind of just only been talking about this for a short period. But I think as we come up with other ideas, we're happy to share them. And I'd love to hear as we post this, as y'all, this would be a great one for people to kind of respond back to, and whether it's in whatever group you see it posted in, or whether it's on our Facebook page, taking the opportunity to share with us some of the ways you're educating people. We'd be happy to share them out on the next one as well, as we come on to the next episode, whatever that's going to be.
Right. Yeah. As soon as our schedule and the moon and stars, all that line up, that we're able to do the next recording.
Well, I mean,
whether people believe it or not, this is not our primary occupation.
It's not. Wait, I thought you were cutting me a check for this.
I'm not going to throw around the word embezzlement yet, but you know, um, I another way that I've been able to get in front of, I guess you could say, our audience. Not no, not. Let me rephrase that. Not the audience of this. You know,
Your
our target,
shop audience,
yeah,
your target customer. Yep.
yeah, our target customer, our target demographic is, like I said, if you're open to the idea of working with your area funeral homes, do it. And I'm not saying, talk about commission sales, anything like that, because if that's something you want to do, that's fine. If that's something you don't want to do, that's fine as well. But every now and then, funeral homes around here, and they do it all on their own individual, they never team up, but they put on seminars to where we'll go to a restaurant that has like a big party room, they'll rent it out for the night.
Yep.
And they send all the invites out to, the seniors in the community, meal. And then of course it's a presentation about, pre-need sales, things like that, trying to encourage people to start getting in that frame of mind, or, to make the commitment to go ahead and get their prearranged services taken care of. And it's also been an opportunity for me to step in and talk with these people, let them know that, more and more people are choosing the route of going ahead and having their headstone made and ready. And the only thing it needs is the dates. And that's also the opportunity to bring in, for the people that, because you will have some people say, well, I'm being cremated, don't need one.
And that was the
Well,
comments I would always get at those senior expos. Haha, I don't need you. I'm going to be cremated. I'm like,
so some of them are more direct. They're going to
yeah,
burn me.
yeah. Like that's fine. But your kids will. And whether you believe it or not, you just think it's easier to shut that conversation off because you don't want to talk about it. And that's why you chose cremation. So you don't have to go make a bunch of decisions. Your kids are going to make those decisions. And it is rather emotionally difficult to let go of that stuff. Like, I was the one, we cremated my grandmother. And, I've got, like I said, I've got a replica of her urn here in the office. But I was the one who put her in the ground. So I was the last person to touch her urn and have some kind of contact with her. Man, I'm not a guy who I don't do well with public displays of emotion.
Nope.
I don't. Your emotions are my emotions to me are private. Your emotions are private. I don't need to know that. All whatever. Man, I'm not ashamed to say I bawled like a little baby. And I knew as soon as when I put her down in the ground, as I'm getting ready, I knew as soon as I took my hand off, I was going to lose it. I was fine up until that point. But as soon as my hand left, I lost it. So I took a deep breath and down I went, and that was it. But so it is tough. It is not an easy thing. It just because it's cremation doesn't make that loss any different. You know, it's funny because it took me to continue on to that story. It was funny. Afterwards, I'm still trying to compose myself. My mom had bought flowers for each of the grandkids to put on the grandkids and great grandkids to put on the plot afterwards. And so she tells everybody to do it. She gets to me and she says, "Tony, you can put your flower down." I said, I can't. Said, no, it's okay. You can put your flower down. I said, I can't. And it took her a second. She looks at me. She goes, "What'd you do?" I smiled and I looked at her. I go, "I put it in the urn." And I didn't tell anybody, so mine was the only one in there. But
that is hilarious.
I was the only grandson and the first grandchild, so it's fair.
Oh yeah, no, yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, I can still find humor in the rough things when I need to.
Oh, you have to,
no,
especially in what we do.
Yeah, well, and that was, I mean, like I got in trouble for it 2 weeks ago. We had one of the reasons this is it has been a bit since the last one for us is 2 weeks ago we had to put down one of our dogs, and we'd had him for 15 years. of course, we've had a lot of stuff going on, but the next day we were getting ready for people to come over, and the house was all clean. I'm running through cleaning stuff up and whatnot, and I look out, and the other dog, who's older, who's just as old, about a year younger than the one. So one was 15, the other one's 14. I look out on the patio, and there's um, excrement on the patio where there wasn't some before, and I knew that it was from the dog that we still had. Under my breath, I go, killed the wrong dog.
Like that scene from Walk Hard. Wrong dog died.
Just so mad. It's like, I love that dog, and now you're the one over here defecating on my patio. It's like, I'm ready for you to go now.
I have a silver lab. I will give you. I mean,
So,
if the way that dog digs, if I could figure out how to make him dig on command, he's on the setting truck then.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well, yeah, that was the intention with Patton when we got Patton, was he was going to ride in the truck with me, and he was going to go to the cemetery with me and run around and all that kind of stuff and meet with families. The problem was with Patton, he was just way too hyperactive the whole time, and there was no way that was going to work out well. So,
yeah, you don't need the lawsuit whenever he tackles the old little blue hair out there.
Well, and he was never aggressive and never bit anybody, but he was always he was always willing to jump on you, and so that can be a bit much.
Loved everybody.
Yep, that was it. But we miss him. He's as we believe in Burt Reynolds' character, all dogs go to heaven. So it's he was a great dog, and um, you know he'll be forever missed. And we still love Maggie. I mean, she is a sweet dog up until the point when she does her business on my patio. So,
yep.
But I think that's really kind of it for the cremation side of stuff.
Yes, sir.
What what do you know? Do you know stuff coming? Of course, we've got, again, we've been reiterating this a few times, but we've got Southern Monument Builders Convention coming up here shortly.
Yep, June 22nd through 24th in the Woodlands.
Yep. And I have had a few people go, oh, well, it's the hotel's full. The hotel is not completely full. We still have our room allotment of, what do they call it? The
room block.
Room block. That's what it's called. So that we still have the room block there. So if you do, if you are thinking of going and you would like to go, know that you can call them directly. In fact, the hotel is the Woodlands Resort Curio Collection by Hilton. So if you have Hilton points, you're welcome to use those. I would call them directly. The number is 281-367-1100. And when you call and book, it's use the group rate of SM0622 to book your room. Man, this place is going to be really cool. And it is, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe from Bush Intercontinental. Here's just to, I guess, give full, what are they, full details, or I'm not the guy who said, hey, let's go to the Woodlands, really, because I grew up over there. We grew up on the other side of the highway and went to Oak Ridge, but it was, I grew up over there.
You were an Oak Ridge boy?
Yes, I'm Umbapa Mau Mau, and Elvira and all that. So no, so we went over there and checked it out. That place is really cool. I was not an advocate of going back out there just originally because of having grown up out there, and it's not all that exciting for me. But man, there's a lot of stuff to do. You can't find better restaurants. You'd be hard pressed for it anyway. The golf is phenomenal. And I'm not a golfer, so there's plenty of that out there to do. The Woodlands Mall that is right there has all your overly priced high dollar items that you could want. I think there's, if I can't remember correctly, I think there is a needless markup there that is there. But you can, all kinds of stuff. I think that freaking mall has a cheesecake factory in it. So yeah, you're good to go if you want to go shopping. I'm trying to see. I want to look up while we're sitting here talking about that thing. Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion is the event center that's right there. And I wonder if they've got any concerts going on at that time that are worth going to see. June. I know this is all well planned. The 27th, which is the Tuesday before. Is that right? No, we said 20. It's the 22nd. So if you're willing to stay till Tuesday, and you like, I don't know how to. If you like Fall Out Boy, they will be there. Or if you want to stay until the 30th, Matchbox 20 will have a concert there as well. So pick your poison.
And another thing to add about the convention is this is a pretty family friendly convention. A lot of us that, we, like myself, I have 2 young kids. Tony has 2 young kids. There's quite a few of us that do. We bring our kids to this. We all let them get together, have fun. Like Tony had said, this place has an amazing pool. Guarantee my kids are going to be out there. Like, bring them along. Let them all get together and have fun.
Yeah, and we're going to let them run roughshod out there, because where else are they going to get in trouble without their parents completely paying attention? So I think it's the best way we can do that.
Right.
So, but as far as events going on, that's the number one I know of. I know it's, who did I see? I think Mid Atlantic started talking about their convention just recently, not that long ago. So. There are other events coming up. Keep your eyes open for those. As we hear about them, we'll definitely share them with you. I will not. I do refuse to tell you what your font is that you're looking for, mainly because it's rather difficult to do in podcast form. I'm
just always going to go back to my default of Comic Sans.
I thought you only used modified Roman. Is that right?
And whenever I'm feeling kind of frisky, I might throw Vermarco in.
Vermarco, whew, you're stretching, man. You're stretching. So, but no, I mean, I think that's really pretty much it for today for us. Things have been pretty good, and look forward to the next topic, which we don't know what that is. We are still open to topic suggestions. If y'all have ideas or thoughts for us, we'd be willing to talk to you about it. We are currently working with a couple of different people who might be interested in coming on and doing some interview sections. So we'll see if that pans out.
Oh yeah. Looking forward to it all.
So, all right. Well, have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Bingo.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Y'all too. Have a good one.